In this scenario, I'll assume the role of the Vice President of Support Operations, and one of my key metrics is that of dispatch costs, the costs associated with dispatching mobile technicians on support calls. I want to investigate some of the underlying drivers of my support costs across support centers. My executive operational dashboard shows that dispatch costs are too high, above plan, and eating into my service profitability. To begin understanding what may be going on here, I'll look at the calls coming into my 4 call centers simply by accessing my call center activity dashboard. Here I can see the actual call volumes, and I can start investigating whether there's a possible relationship between these volumes and my dispatch cost issue. First, I'll see which of my call centers is fielding the most calls, and it appears to be Atlanta. Next, I'd like to see which parts, and even more importantly, which part suppliers, are associated with my support costs. To do that, I'll look at my part failure summary dashboard, which shows me that there are clear spikes for several products, and for specific part suppliers in terms of my annual costs. Specifically, there are spikes for products from Avalon, Chamois, and Finale. And looking at my crosstab here, this information is corroborated. The total cost for each of these suppliers is high. But so too are the costs for my Yaha and Doom suppliers, which may not have any large spikes for individual products, but rather consistent expense across multiple products. I can quickly go back down to my chart to validate this by hovering over the chart, and I see that indeed Doom and Yaha are at least moderate cost contributors across multiple products. So now I know which call center is taking the most calls and which suppliers are likely contributing in significant ways to my elevated dispatch costs. In this next scenario, I'll check incident call details where I can see recent trends. IBM Cognos now delivers views into any data, time sliced however you need it, from the annual levels you've just seen to recent daily trends right through to real-time monitoring of things like call volume. This dashboard focuses on the past 5 days, although the time trend period can be set to whatever is required, hourly, daily, past week, whatever baseline is used in your organization. Here I see my 5-day trend of dispatch calls and costs versus total calls. Over those 5 days, which products have been major cost contributors, as well as which suppliers providing those parts have been costing me the most in terms of dispatch costs. Within this view, I can easily see which products or suppliers are contributing this week, as well as the details underlying the calls, the actual cited reasons customers are calling. As a VP of the support organization, I've quickly identified several contributing factors to my unsatisfactory dispatch cost performance. I know which call centers receiving the most calls, which suppliers and products are contributing most significantly to the cost of dispatch calls. And while executives do not typically use reporting tools to dig into the underlying details, let's for a moment assume the role of a business analyst reporting to the support VP. Because IBM Cognos Now is integrated with IBM Cognos 8 Business Intelligence, it's a simple matter to create supporting reports that can then be reused in any Cognos Now dashboard. Let's create a new report for part failures. We want to see the details for suppliers and all products. And at this point, I'm interested in controlling overall costs, not averages, so I'll add total cost per call as my measure. If I section the report on supplier, I can see summaries for individual suppliers, and based on what I've already learned from my IBM Cognos Now dashboard, I can filter on the suppliers I know to be problematic: Avalon, Chamois, Doom, and so on. Now to see the trend over time, I can add months from the time dimension and then create pivot tables with the costs on a per supplier basis. The next thing I might want to do is add some exception highlighting to isolate and highlight costs in whatever bands I wish to apply. The interface for this is very intuitive. I only have to specify my thresholds. And then select from a list of predefined styles to highlight the data as excellent, above average, average, and so on. Interestingly, the report corroborates what we suspected about our doomed supplier. No real spikes or exceptions, just costs incurred at low to moderate levels pretty much across the board. And the result is a formatted report I can use in any of my dashboards. The last thing I need to do is give the report a meaningful title, and then save it so it can be reused. As you've seen, IBM Cognos now allows the people in charge of key success metrics like costs, revenue, quality, and so on to engage quickly and easily in root cause analysis. The information delivered can be, as you've seen here, annual targets for key metrics, together with cached historical details, or real-time data to gain the perspective required, like this continuous feed of call volumes, updated in real time to show actual call volumes versus forecast, together with up-to-the-minute displays of calls waiting and summarized views of related sales metrics. By delivering this constantly updated view into both the short and long-term values of service-level costs, IBM Cognos now affords managers and executives the clear insight required to assess the factors having the most immediate and serious financial impact on the customer service center, and to quickly take corrective actions.